Hi everyone, it's Tuesday, March 17, and I'm in front of my fireplace without a fire, but it looks cool, I guess. Zach and I have been working the past couple days on plans for how our church is going to function in these unprecedented times, and we feel so greatly our reliance on God's grace. This is going to be a hard year for all churches, but we feel like our church is in a better position than most to weather the storm. I mean, for one thing, we're small, and therefore we're flexible. We can change things up as we need to. We're also kind of informal. We're also kind of used to unusualness of different kinds. We do not have any debt, which is a good feeling in difficult times. We also, our identity is not tied to our church building. We realize that church is not a piece of real estate, but it's a group of people. It's people that have relationships with each other and most of all with the Lord. And we do truly know each other and love each other and care for each other. And you know, Zach and I feel your love and trust in us, and that means so much for the stability of our fellowship going forward. People in our church have fairly different understandings and convictions about how to handle the virus situation that we're in. Zach and I feel like we're kind of in the middle of that spectrum, which I guess is a good place for us to be. But we respect everybody's views on this. On the one hand, we believe, we see the great importance of seeking to love our neighbors. And that includes being careful about hygiene. That includes all the social distancing recommendations that we've heard. We believe that if these things are consistently followed in our country, it will save many lives in the long run. But we're also seeking to balance all of that reality, the love your neighbor reality, with the other important thing we're conscious of, and that is the ability of Christ's church to function as the church over the coming months, that we need to function as a body, as a cohesive, family-like community. We obviously cannot keep doing what we're used to doing in terms of our meetings and stuff. The president yesterday directed that there be no social meetings larger than 10 people for at least 2 weeks. I would expect that to go further and maybe even become more restrictive. Also, in the providence of God, we don't have access to the building we met in for the last 15 months during the time of the virus crisis, and we certainly cannot all fit in my basement anymore. So we need to quickly change what we're doing with our meetings. My educated estimate is that things are going to need to be different, not just for a matter of a few weeks, but probably for months to come, maybe many months, maybe through Christmas, who knows. The ironic thing, though, is that if the measures we're taking are successful, and we do flatten the curve, as you've heard that phrase, if we do stretch out the duration in which people are getting sick, what that'll mean is we'll need to keep these practices in place for a longer time, and that'll be good if that's in fact the outcome. So what does it mean for us, for our weekly meeting schedule, like this week and going forward? Well, the beginning of the week we have these little prayer meetings for men and women. on Mondays and Tuesdays. These gatherings are well less than 10 people. And so we don't see a need to make any change with those meetings at this time. Obviously, each person can decide for themselves that they want to keep participating in those little gatherings. Now, for the Thursday prayer meeting, oh, this is such an important meeting for us. So we're not going to cancel the prayer meeting, but rather we're going to try to decentralize the prayer meeting. We want everyone to pray in their homes at about the same time on Thursday evenings and to pray about the same things. And so then effectively we are praying together even though we are physically separated. Many families will just pray alone, a husband and a wife together. Maybe include the kids if you want. Some might join with say one other family or a single person that Thursday night. That could be fine. But effective prayer will be so crucial as we go through this difficult season together. And in order for it to be effective, we need to be praying about the same things. And so we need to communicate with each other about the prayer needs that are on our hearts. And so what we'll be doing is accumulating the prayer requests and burdens from everyone, and then compiling a list and then getting that list back out to everyone prior to 7 p.m. on Thursday evenings. And we'll be giving instructions on how to submit prayer requests for that time. So hopefully that makes sense. And then our Sunday morning worship. Everybody's eager to know what we're planning for that. We believe that some amount of gathering together, of assembling with other Christians is so vital, so helpful in our spiritual life. And not being isolated, that we're going to try to assemble at least a little bit as long as we possibly can in this situation. And so in order to do that, we're still working on the details here, but a general plan is to try to have very small gatherings of say 2 or 3 families each. We'll stay within that 10-person guidance that we've received from the government. But the idea is to have multiple meetings in say 5 or 6 different homes on Sundays at 10 o'clock. And these little groups will do basically the same stuff we're used to doing on Sunday mornings. We'll sing a few songs from our usual hymnals. We can pray some prayers. We can hear the same sermon. My plan is to record a sermon on like Saturday night, get it uploaded, so all the little groups could watch the same sermon together, talk about the message afterwards if they want. Of course, if we do these little gatherings, we have to be really careful. You can only participate if you are not sick and if you're willing to follow all the hygiene type guidance that we're given. So clean hands, no touching each other, not sharing food and drink, that kind of thing. Now, this idea of a bunch of little decentralized groups probably sounds weird, but it's really what we see in the New Testament, how the early church did things. In a city, there would be one church with one group of elders leading that church, but they wouldn't all gather in the same big building. Instead, their meetings were decentralized. They were all in different members' homes spread all over town. I mean, you see it there in Acts 2, right after Pentecost. In Jerusalem, it says that they're breaking bread from house to house. It's like it's going on in all these different homes together. So we will obviously see much less of each other in the flesh over the coming weeks and I suspect months. And so it's all the more important to communicate in other ways, text, voice calls, video calls. We have the technology to do this kind of thing easily. If there's something on your mind, Zach and I want to hear from you. We want to be involved. We don't want anyone feeling isolated and left out. We care for each one and your welfare. It just seems like every day brings new challenges, new changes, and we feel so greatly our need of the Lord's help in making the best decisions. But we trust that the Lord uses weak vessels like us to accomplish His purposes, to get great glory for His glorious name. And so we press on with our confidence in the Lord. Amen.